Todd Ristau is a graduate of the Iowa Playwrights Workshop. He also serves as Artistic Director of Studio Roanoke and is Program Director for the Playwrights Lab at Hollins University, a graduate program in playwriting. His work has been performed in theaters across the U.S. and in England, including London's West End. Ristau founded No Shame Theater in 1986, the all-comers 5-minute on-stage event that eventually spread to dozens of cities, including Roanoke. Ristau worked with Now Dark Mill Mountain Theater as literary associate and oversaw its underground Roanoke alternative programming in the Centerpieces reading series. Besides playwriting, Ristau is a director, designer, and actor who has performed over 400 roles. Making Studio Roanoke a destination for new and emerging playwrights is one of his latest projects. Todd Ristau, welcome to the interview.
Hey there, good to be here.
Before we talk about Studio Roanoke, I want to talk about your role at Hollins in the playwriting program. Talk about that whole thing.
Well, I was invited by Hollins to come and create another MFA program there, this time in playwriting, and we started it, I guess I pitched it in 2006, and the university said, gee, this sounds like a great program, and we started it up, and now the first summer we had 9 students, and this last summer we had 20 students, and it's growing all the time.
So this is a summertime program, right? A fairly intensive program?
Yeah, it's a summer intensive. Hollins has a variety of MFA programs. The creative writing program and the dance program are year-round, sort of traditional programs, but the screenwriting, playwriting, and children's literature are all 6-week intensives during the summer. My playwriting program is a full 60-credit-hour degree, and you can earn that degree in as short as 3 summers, like Henley Smith did, or take as long as 5 or 6 summers to get it done. We're very, very flexible because we know that playwrights' needs can often reflect different demands on their time. And we want to be not so much like a traditional 3-year program where you take 3 years off your life and then you call yourself a professional writer. We want to kind of dovetail with your personal and professional pursuits that are happening already.
Kind of weave it into what your real life.
Exactly.
Might get better work that way too.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we already are demonstrating that we've got a really diverse and talented pool of student writers, and they're getting produced and published already. So it's great.
Now some of these some of the kids you're working with at Hollins, I even think, acting or playwriting or showing up at Studio Roanoke. Talk about that a little bit.
We from the beginning, Ken and I both wanted Studio Roanoke to be an extension of the playwriting program and provide opportunities for Hollins and the Hollins Theater Department, both undergraduate and graduate, to make inroads into the community and get a lot of people working at different experience levels together in one kind of artistic home, including people from the community theater, professional theater artists who come in as visiting guests of the program, and then the graduate and undergraduate students out there. So it's really working well.
Now you've been an actor, director, playwright yourself, and I'm not sure when this is going to air, but I know in April at Studio Roanoke there's a one-man show about Hitler.
Yeah.
That you wrote a while back. Was at the Edinburgh Festival.
You can go to the Studio Roanoke website and click on the event calendar and see a full roster of all of the events that are coming up. We do 8 full productions a year. We've got a program coming up in March by one of our MFA playwrights, Dear Abe, and he's coming in from Los Angeles. And we've got a guest director from Washington, D.C. who's coming down to direct that show. And then in April, to coincide with the 65th anniversary of the end of World War II, I'm doing a revival of my one-man Hitler show that I wrote back when I was in my graduate playwriting program at the University of Iowa, which was invited to go to the 1991 Edinburgh Festival. So we're bringing that back. It'll probably be the last time for the Hitler revival.
And one of the things you've been able to do, or starting to do at Studio Roanoke, is bring in playwrights, Todd, from other parts of the country. Recently, Lucy Thurber came in from New York for her play Asheville, which had a bunch of people from Hollins in there. And talk about one of the things you want to do at Studio Roanoke, you and Kenley, is bring in visiting playwrights to maybe try out a play that's not quite ready for the big time.
Yeah, exactly. We've already, the playwriting program and Studio Roanoke have both already captured kind of a national imagination in the new play development circles. And Lucy Thurber is a fairly prominent new playwright who gets done a lot in New York, and she was excited enough when she came down here as a guest of the playwriting program 2 years ago, by what we were doing at Studio Roanoke that she wanted to be on our board of advisors. And so she made a contribution of a new play that she was working on that we directed and put up there. And we really do want to have a blend of complete unknowns and people who are established, and bringing those people together. At Christmas time, we did a new play by Jeff Good, who's also a very well-established playwright working in Los Angeles, and he let us do the premiere of his new play, Yes, Svetlana, There Is a Grandfather Frost, which is going to be published in 2010 and will be listed as the first theater that ever produced it.
Is there a little bit of a circuit you can get on if you get well known enough, Todd, where this will be one of the places playwrights will want to come to try out their plays?
I think so. The theater world is a very small one, and because of the economics of the art, it gets smaller all the time, unfortunately. That's why we're so enthusiastically pushing for patrons who will offset some of the costs of doing new work, because it's inherently riskier to do a play that nobody's ever heard of that may or may not be finished than an old chestnut like Oklahoma or something. But people come here. They love Roanoke. It's got a great cost of living. It's a dynamic community. It's got really supportive artists or audiences for new work. And then they go out and they tell others what a good experience they had working on their show here. Another playwright who works a lot in New York, Andy Bragan, was coming through Roanoke from a conference in Georgia, and I'd never met him before, and he emailed me and asked if he could stop and see the theater and find out a little bit more about the program, and we're going to be doing one of his new plays as part of the next season. So it's very exciting that we're really getting national attention for this very small, unique experiment that we're doing here.
Now, you founded No Shame Theater a long time ago.
Yeah, back in 1986 in the back of my pickup
truck.
Right,
in Iowa, right?
Right.
Now, it's found a home, at least for now, at Studio Roanoke after the demise of Mill Mountain Theater. What about Mill Mountain Theater? Does Roanoke need a professional equity theater company? Todd, can it support that? Or what's your thought on the revival of Mill Mountain Theater?
Well, I worked at Mill Mountain for over 6 years. I was brought in to start No Shame Theater there and oversaw their alternative programming through Underground Roanoke, and eventually became their literary associate and managed their Centerpieces reading series and the Norfolk Southern Festival of New Works. I'm very excited about the idea that Mill Mountain might come back, and I'm hoping that whatever way in which they do come back, their reimagining will be a little bit more open to the needs of the community rather than trying to operate solely as the professional theater in town. Some of the ideas that I've heard coming out of the committees working on that reinvention sound really, really exciting, and that they're open to working in tandem with other theater organizations in town rather than as a competitor, because I think the art world is just too small for individual artists or arts organizations to see each other as competitors for a diminishing audience base. We need to be working together to build and cultivate an ever larger and more appreciate audience base.
Right. And that's one of the things you actually envisioned early on for Studio Roanoke, is that you would actually feed off of Mill Mountain or work together.
Well, that feed off is, that I don't want to sound like we were, carrion vultures or something. It was never going to be that way. We, in fact, before,
or work with is a better word.
Yeah, before Mill Mountain closed, Patrick Benton and I had been looking at ways that we could actually work together to expand Mill Mountain's new works offerings, because the demands on the Waldron space were just too great to really do an expansive growth in new works programming, because that space was used for rehearsal and a paint shop and scene building and classrooms and all of the rest. So what we were hoping to do was work together, write grants together, and do productions at Studio Roanoke as co-productions, with Mill Mountain providing housing for guest artists over at the atelier and sharing costs and so forth. And I'm certainly open to, however Mill Mountain comes back, to revisiting some of those plans. Okay,
I have to leave it there. Todd Ristau with Studio Roanoke at Hollins University.
Excellent.
Thanks very much for coming, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming to our shows.
No problem. Our guests today have been River Laker, Kenley Smith, and Todd Ristau. I'm Gene Marrano. You can look for me in the Roanoke Star-Sentinel, Play-by-Play, and Valley Business Front, and listen for me on WVTF Public Radio. Until next time, take care.